Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Thomas, and I talk about the things that I learned in my near-death experience and subsequent enlightenment, and the things that I think you should know or that might help you. So today we're going to be talking about psychic channeling using techniques that were developed at the Stanford Research Institute in the 70s for the Army. Specifically coordinate remote viewing techniques. So the techniques that we're going to be talking about are a combination of spiritual practice and protocols that remote viewers developed. This is not remote viewing, but kind of techniques that I found that work for me that kind of cherry pick some of the best parts of coordinate remote viewing. So the first thing that you need to know is that your biggest obstacle is going to be yourself. I was shown in my near-death experience that every human is psychic. You have to believe that the methods here will provide real, intelligible results. One of the mantras used by Army remote viewers was, "Results be damned, process is everything." And what that means is that if you trust in the process, what comes out will be useful. An analogy that kind of describes remote viewing well is that you don't have to know how an engine works to drive a car. Remote viewing is kind of the same way. We don't understand the physics behind it. Quantum physics is kind of starting to explain it, but we really don't know. But the same applies here. You do not have to understand remote viewing or psychic abilities or how they work in order to gain information otherwise unavailable to you. So the most important thing is that you believe in yourself and believe that anything is possible. So we are spiritual beings connected to all that is or ever will be. Remember that you are as beautiful as the universe. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are connected to everything and all that ever was and ever will be. You are a co-creator of your own existence, so do not allow self-judgment to block your creativity. Writing is a creative pursuit, and it connects us to the collective consciousness. Another barrier is being the observer versus the evaluator. You have to observe what comes into your inner dialogue without judgment. The evaluator views the process and results through the lens of culture, beliefs, and conditioning. So you have to trust that what comes out to you is useful, and don't judge the process or what comes out. Just keep writing and trust in the process. So there is a well-known phenomenon in coordinate remote viewing that is something like beginner's luck. This is a good thing and can be used to develop your technique. The first few sessions you want to keep your pen or pencil moving and not stop. This prevents your self-judgment, your evaluator mind from coming into play. So after the beginner's luck fades away, though, you can change your technique to mindfully writing. So slow way down and use mindfulness techniques to stay connected to the signal line, the collective consciousness. Use paced breathing and slow way down, observing each movement of the pen or pencil as you make each letter. So the channeling session begins with the intention to gain information that is not otherwise available to you. So set the intention: I want to connect to my guardian angels, I want to connect to a loved one who's passed on, I want to connect to my star friends or extraterrestrial beings, whomever or whatever it may be. So now the next and probably the most important step besides believing in yourself is what is known in remote viewing as a cool down period. So this is, again, probably the most critical step. The goal is to slow your brainwave pattern from a high frequency beta wave pattern to a alpha or theta wave pattern. So this is, the beta wave pattern is what you're in when you're accomplishing tasks, when you're watching TV, when you're going about your day. The alpha and theta wave patterns are the state that you're in just before you fall asleep or when you're in a deep meditative state. So if you fall asleep in a cool down period, don't judge yourself. just continue with your channeling. So the very act of slowing down your brainwave pattern will quiet your inner dialogue, making it possible to connect to all that is, to the signal line, as it's known in remote viewing. So this can be accomplished through meditation, through paced breathing. I particularly like to use what's called Anuloma Viloma or altered nostril breathing. I also like to listen to binaural beats that induce an alpha or theta wave pattern, or music that elevates your mood while calming you down. Classical music, some people find classic rock works well for them. This is kind of a reference to the men who stare at goats. So remote viewers also know that for some people with like attention deficit disorder, stimulants can be useful, such as caffeine or even cannabis, if you're okay with that thing, or that sort of thing. If you're going to use cannabis, though, I suggest that you start with strains that are known to help with ADD or ADHD. But the goal is to slow down your mind and enter an altered state. So the cool down period can last up to several hours, but usually 5 to 20 minutes is sufficient for a short channeled message. But if you're tackling a complex subject matter or planning to do an extended session, longer cool down periods are usually required to reduce the cortisol, the adrenaline, and the other stress hormones. So again, it's okay if you fall asleep, just don't judge yourself. So having already gathered all your materials, you're going to need a pen. I like the gel pen type black ink. If you're going to use a pencil, have it already sharpened, and don't sharpen it during the message. That's going to bring you back to a beta wave pattern. All right, you're also going to need several sheets of blank white paper. So you don't want to run out of paper in the middle of your session. And a quick note about your handwriting. So just keep your pencil or pen moving. Don't judge your writing. Just, in fact, probably the sloppier the better, at least at first. So you're also going to need a timer to time your session, and that's especially in the beginning, that helps you keep your pencil moving. And you might want to start with 5 to 10 to 20 minutes. 20 minutes is going to seem like a long time. And if you're not someone who meditates regularly, then 5 minutes might seem like a long time, maybe 2 or 3 minutes for a message. So the next steps are highly ritualized and developed by physicists for the Stanford Research Institute, or by the Stanford Research Institute for the Army Remote Viewing Program way back in the 70s. And it's been proven to work. Again, they don't know why it works. They just know it does. So on the top left, I'll show you right here. So on the top left, you're going to want to use the Cornell Notes format. And what that is basically you have a column running down the left-hand side of your page, and then a section on the bottom where you're going to put your conclusions and anything that you learned or want to remember. But up at the top, you're going to write your date, and then in the middle, you're going to want to title it. So whatever your intention is, go ahead and write that down here. And then in your cool down period, if you get any messages or advanced visuals in your mind's eye, make sure you write that down, because it's probably going to show up in your message. And then below that, you're going to write any personal inclemencies. So what those are, like headaches, stomach aches, tiredness, whatever, because that's going to affect your session. And when you look back on them later, you're going to want to know that. All right, so below that, you're going to, well, first you're going to start your timer, and then you're going to start your message in the middle. For whatever reason, they figured out that the signal line, what they call the collective consciousness that comes to you, runs down the middle of the page. So it makes sense to start in the middle. So keep your pen and pencil moving. Don't judge what comes out. And how physicists figured out that the signal line runs down the middle of the page and the rest of the stuff is beyond me, but thank goodness they did, because it really works. All right, so the next thing is, what if you need to take a break? Well, you're going to want to write, and this is part of the ritual, you're going to want to write break and the time in parentheses. And then you're going to purposefully set down your pen or pencil. Think of it like a magic wand. So you're going to purposely set it down, and that lets spirit know that, okay, you're taking a break. And if your break's going to be longer than 5 or 10 minutes, you're probably going to need another cool down period. So when you're ready to resume, again, you write in the middle of the page, you write resume and the time in parentheses, and then begin again in the middle of the page, restart your timer, and continue, and keep your pen or pencil moving. All right, so keep writing until your intuition tells you that the message is concluded. Probably, though, your spirit or your angels or whoever you're connecting to is going to let you know that, hey, the message is over. They might even tell you, okay, you're getting tired. We see you're getting tired, so let's go ahead and conclude this session. So at the bottom of the page, you're going to write any conclusions or realizations down here. So before you do that, you're going to want to read your message. You might need to read it a couple times. Note any knowledge that you may have gained, and then underline any part of the message that doesn't seem to fit with the subject matter. So this is kind of like what is known in coordinate remote viewing as analytical overlay. And right now we don't need to go into that, but if you are interested in advancing or developing your own psychic channeling methods, I would highly recommend that you learn about analytical overlay. All right, so when you're judging your message while you're writing, it's going to bring you out of the signal line. It's going to disconnect you. It's going to bring in the judgmental mind. So at the end of the message, and this isn't part of the ritual, but I like to thank collective consciousness and my angels or any beings that made themselves known during the session. So again, this isn't part of remote viewing protocols, but I find that it helps me stay grounded while working with esoteric subject matters like extraterrestrials, or when channeling beings or loved ones that have passed on. So these techniques can be used to connect with your twin flame. For me, I kind of developed this technique because my guardian angel that showed up in my near-death experience, one of the guardian angels was actually my twin flame. And I found that it was a lot easier to write down the messages, plus I wouldn't forget them when I found her communicating with me. So you'll be surprised at what comes out. I find that often I get words that aren't even in my vocabulary, and I have to look them up to see what they mean. And I'm often surprised at what comes out, because it's just, there's no possible way it came from me or my imagination. And even if it comes from your imagination, strengthening your imagination will improve your psychic abilities and is not free writing. So all humans are psychic. It's just like a muscle that we have to build. I was shown this in my near-death experience, that we're all psychic. And what happens is that when we start school, we stop working with our imagination. We start developing the lenses that culture and religion and all that, our parents and all that. So we stop seeing the world with curious eyes. But I know that this process will amaze you and help you when you feel alone, when you're not loved, or when you're missing a loved one. It will open channels to the other side and connect you more closely with your guardian angels, your spirit guides, whoever you're trying to connect to. However, it does not require you to delve into your spirituality. Remote viewing is really not psychic abilities. It's something anyone can do. It's just a muscle that you have to build. So thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. The more viewers that I get, the more subscribers, the more I'm able to continue helping others through the wisdom I've gained during my near-death experience and subsequent enlightenment. So much love and peace to you. Namaste.